Hi there, and welcome to Chimp Chat, a podcast aimed at helping you get the very best from your MailChimp account. Brought to you by those clever chimps at Chimp Answers, a MailChimp Pro partner. MailChimp email marketing is just what we do. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another of our MailChimp interview series, the MailChimp Masters, as I'm now starting to call it, interviews with people who really know their MailChimp stuff. And today I'm joined by the delightful Sequoia Mulgrave. Hi Sequoia, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Sequoia is one of the speakers we've got at the Chimposium. She's going to be talking about basically how to get started with MailChimp, as it were, and how to pick up your first 100 subscribers. But before we get into that and obviously all the other stuff that we've got planned for today, do you want to just give us a quick background about you, the business, where you're based, and the type of people and the type of projects that you get involved in, so people have got a bit of context?
Yeah, absolutely. So I own DailyMode Studio, CEO and founder, and I founded this company, almost 7, 8 years ago now. I actually came from the publishing world. I was working for People, InStyle, Essence, and I was really exhausted. Although I love the design piece, I love the marketing piece behind it. I was exhausted, so I transitioned into small business marketing, and I ran two marketing firms there. And Company A had increased their business by 120% over the course of the year, and Company B increased by 109% over the course of the year. So at that point, that was the catalyst for me to say, like, this is something that I need to be doing. And so that's when I started DailyMode Studio. So my team directly supports small businesses, specifically micro small businesses, and we do that through web design and email marketing.
Cool. Okay, so have you got any particular specialties in the web design area?
So we we stick within Squarespace web design. So that is our real house. That is the platform that I love. Just because, and don't get me wrong, it's no knock to anybody else, but that is a platform that we love for small business owners. I mean, we want to have a platform that it doesn't take, the developer or genius to try to figure that out. People just want to run their businesses.
Cool, cool, cool. And you're based in Connecticut, is it?
I was in Connecticut, so I moved during the pandemic, as crazy as that sounds, not by choice, of course. So we are back in Virginia. This is where I went to undergrad school, and we have family here, so we're back in Virginia. But we were in outskirts of New York and Connecticut
Yeah.
for years, so we're back in Virginia,
Cool.
keeping it
I'll
local.
have to check out my map. I've been to Virginia a couple of times, so afterwards I'll have to check exactly where and see whether I've been in the town as it were. Admittedly, it was a while ago, but that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
And we won't go into it too much now, but we'll touch on it a little bit more later. But do you want to just give a teaser of the type of things that you're going to be talking about at Chimposium?
I am so excited for Symposium. This workshop, we're going to be talking a lot about getting your first 100 subscribers. And the method I use is a method I call the Growth Circle method that I use with a lot of our clients, because we're working with, my customer base is people who are from startup to anybody with less than 10 people on their team, right? So a lot of that has to deal with getting started and growing an email list. And a lot of people think you have to do all the things. And so in my presentation, we're really going to talk about like just one simple method for you to get to those first 100. Once you've mastered that, you can really grow your list pretty successfully, pretty fast. But it's all about mastering that one simple method. And that's what we're going to be going over.
Cool. I'm really excited. It's one of the things that I've learned as I've been doing this interview series with everyone. It's been great because I've got excited because like this,
Right?
we all work in our own little silos and our own little areas, and we kind of get to see what other people are doing, but we don't kind of like really know the detail.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm looking forward to at Chimposium is just actually seeing what everyone else is doing and seeing those tips that I can pick up for that, because I guarantee there's a load of stuff that you and a lot of the others that I've not even considered. And I thought, actually, you know what, I need to do some of that or get that involved. So, no, that's really looking forward to it. So, we'll come a little bit, give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about that. But start off with, always like to talk a little bit about your history with MailChimp. We are a MailChimp Pro
Mm,
podcast. We are for
yeah,
MailChimp. We love MailChimp. If it wasn't for MailChimp, we wouldn't be speaking, to be blunt. So
true.
that's cool. So where did you start with, how did you get involved with MailChimp to start off with? So what's your history?
So that's a great question. I started with MailChimp I want to say close to maybe 5 years
Hmm.
ago, 4 years. And for us, it was really about creating, we were already doing all these landing pages, we were already doing all this digital marketing, and we were just finding the right platforms. And naturally, we were just using the platforms that customers had brought to us, you know, and a big portion of that was MailChimp. And so, as any expert, you want to get more invested into the program. You want to see what's working, what's not working, what are the capabilities, what's not. And so, within those first 2 years, we really just realized for the customers that we were serving, MailChimp covered all the bases,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you could start something from ground zero, but really then expand to, you're talking about 50K plus subscribers and still be able to manage that successfully. So for me, after the years, we kind of dwindled down using other platforms and just stuck with MailChimp. And for us, it was about having a platform that did what it needed to do email marketing
Yeah.
wise, that was able to scale with the customer because that was all of what we were doing. We wanted our startups to grow and not have to shift. It's
Yeah.
like building a website and then you have to change your website in 5 years. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And we wanted the same for emails, right? We wanted a system that worked and grew with you. And then on top of that, what I really love about MailChimp, we wanted a platform that understood what it was like for a small business owner, what it was like for businesses that were growing with sweat equity, for businesses that were doing it from the ground zero.
Yeah.
And MailChimp has, with the branding, with the messaging, and just generally the team, that they got it. And so for us, it wasn't just so much about having the tool that did it. It was also about having the team behind it, from customer support, from all of the people that you and I've been able to work
Yeah.
with at MailChimp that really understood the purpose behind a lot of these small businesses. And so for me, that was the winner, hands down. If it got what small businesses were trying to do, that's all I need.
Yeah, they do seem to be on that small business wavelength and understand what they can do to take people from zero up to a certain level. And I think, yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit. That's one of the misconceptions I think people have got about MailChimp is they think that it's just the free version. It's just going to get to a
Yep.
certain, once you get to 500 or even 2,000 subscribers and you have to go to the paid level, it's like, oh, I have to move to another system at that point, and that couldn't be further from the truth. It's I was speaking to someone earlier this year who had 8.5 million in their MailChimp account.
Right?
I know. So
That's
if
incredible.
it's good enough for them, so okay,
But I
so
think that's the perception,
yeah, definitely.
it's like anything in business. I think people just get so, once I get to a certain status, I've outgrown whatever. It's like, no, keep it simple. Don't break what's working.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so what's the thing that you love the most about MailChimp at the moment? Could be anything MailChimp related, but what's the thing that you think, wow, I love MailChimp
Hmm.
because of this?
What's my favorite thing about MailChimp? So I'm going to be cheesy here, but it's the God honest truth. It's the people. Literally, it's the people behind MailChimp. So, I mean, even when you hear interviews with like Ben, it's like you get that small feel, but every person I've ever touched with MailChimp has just made you feel one at home and made you feel like, hey, we can support you. Just like I support my customers, I wanted the platforms to do the same for me. And so for me, I know it's cheesy, but it really is the people behind
I,
it.
I couldn't agree more. My experience, I can't think of any negative experiences I've had. I get to the point now where I'm on support that often. I know one or two of the names, and they now know me, which is
Right?
great. So yes, people are there. All right, okay, let's flip this around. Now we love MailChimp. It's the best
Yes,
thing, yeah. But like any good relationship, you have honesty in there, and it's not always 100%
absolutely.
perfect. So, what's the one thing at the moment that you just are kind of like going, oh, I really, that really is not what I want, and it's not working, or whatever with regards. Could be anything again, but what's the thing that's just not working for MailChimp for you at the moment?
God. So I would say two big things right now. One, the website builder. For me, it doesn't do what I need and what most customers need. So,
Yeah,
and again, MailChimp was started out as an email marketing platform. So that shift with now we offer websites wasn't something I can gravitate to or support my customers with. So for me, the website, and then the second is being able to duplicate some things. So like automations. And if anybody at MailChimp is listening, pipe dream Christmas gift for me is if I can duplicate my automations easily where I don't have to duplicate every single email. Like I just want a magic button that
Uh,
says, we're going to duplicate this whole feed for you. You know,
yeah.
so MailChimp Christmas Lips gift to Sequoia would be a quick duplicate button, you know.
Yeah. There's a couple of areas that you can replicate and change, but like for example, landing pages. It always bugs me that
Yeah,
whenever I have to I create a great landing page, and the only way to actually you can replicate it and then go to it, but you can't store it as a template. You've got to replicate an existing
gotta
campaign. So
replicate.
yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Like I
My
said,
thing is like, I will say this and I'll leave it alone. When you have 14, like an automation of 14 launch sequence, one like quick replicate button would do me
yeah.
justice. That's all I'm gonna say, you know?
No, I'm with you there. You're preaching to converted. All right. So before we go off Mailchimp, we touched on this a little bit previously, but what do you think is the one misconception that a lot of users, a lot of people who use Mailchimp have got about the tool that you'd like to kind of like rectify?
I think we touched on it earlier. It's the idea that MailChimp is not for your bigger, medium to enterprise clients, which it is. It is designed to help support you from the startup phase, but it can grow with you. We have so many clients that have, 100K on their email list, 50K on their email list. You just said a million. Like, that's incredible.
Eight
I have
million.
8 million. Sorry, excuse me. I just want you to know I've never touched that. Okay. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands of
Yep.
emails, and MailChimp has the capability to do it. And I think sometimes, again, people just feel like they have to outgrow certain things, especially with marketing. I just feel like you stick with what's working, and for some odd reason, the universe is like, if I'm growing, then everything else has to grow and change with me. And that's not necessarily the case.
I used to call it. I came up with this phrase. I called it. It was an acronym MADOS. It was
Yeah.
called. It was, and this stood for Marketing Attention Deficit. Ooh, shiny.
Ooh,
Kind of
ooh,
like, and it's the magpie principle. It's the, kind of like marketers are always looking for, oh, look, there's something else I can do.
yes.
And they're looking for that, kind of like the bigger, the better, the more flexible, all that type of stuff. And at times, like you say, it's like the grass isn't greener. That I've had so many people who, and kind of like who've gone, oh, I'm gonna, Mailchimp, I need to move, I need to change to another tool. They change to another tool, and then they come
Mhm.
back and they go, it doesn't work the way that I really wanted it to. So going to come back to Mailchimp because I'm more comfortable with it. I know it is, and yeah, no, I agree completely. People at times they underestimate how powerful Mailchimp can actually be. So no, couldn't agree more. Right, expanding the brief a little bit now. So we're going to go kind of like just from MailChimp to email marketing as a whole. So I'm going to delve into your experience and knowledge and skills on the MailChimp side. Sorry, on the email side. So I'm not going to ask how you start. What would you recommend for people who are starting out? Because we're going to cover that when we talk a little bit
We're
more
gonna
about
cover it, yeah.
Gymposium. But what do you think if someone came to you and say, right, I've been doing email marketing for a couple of years. I've got a reasonable sized database. It's ticking over quite nicely, but I really want to take it to the next level. What would you kind of like recommend? What are a couple of things that you'd immediately recommend that they look at to make that step change in their email marketing?
So first step off the bat is figuring out what exactly are you taking to the next level. So I think sometimes, again, bigger, better. There's no real specificity in terms of like what exactly is bigger and better. Is it revenue in terms of a certain product? Is it increasing engagement? Do we want our click-through rates to go higher because we want to really engage our audience? If you don't know exactly what bigger and better means for you, because it's not this, there's no one standard bigger and better, guys. Like
Totally.
that doesn't exist. Um, and so first step is figuring out what specifically is that goal, what's that metric, and then from there we can figure out, okay, do we need a game plan? Do we need to segment our list better? Because sometimes if it's boosting our engagement and understanding our customer base, maybe we need to segment, maybe we need to look at the data that way. If it's increasing reach, maybe it is lead generation, but until we know what we're going after, maybe it's those things. So number one is always just figuring out specifically what that goal is, because there's been so many times where people are like, I need to make, I mean, we have this list of like 20K, but we're trying to boost our revenue. So we need to add like 20K more people to our list. You have 20K people who are highly engaged. You could really bust your boost your customer value here. You have a list of people who already invest in you. Why not? Let's double that number. Then we could talk about lead generation. There's just so much information in terms of like what you can do in terms of what bigger and better looks like for you. But the first step is figuring out what that is.
Yeah, no, many times I've spoken to people and they've said, I want to take the next step. And like you said, well, let's actually work out, where is not, what is that next step?
Yeah.
Is it more leads? Is it tapping into the existing customer base and working it harder? Is it new products, new services, whatever it is, we can work it,
Yeah.
but it's almost that the tactics that you employ within MailChimp or any email marketing tool are basically driven by what the strategy is, and you need to work out what
Yeah.
that first plan is before you even get to the segment this database or do this or do that, because without that understanding of where it is and which aspect you want to get better, you're always going to be throwing a
Yeah.
load of money at the wall and seeing if it sticks, which is not the
Oh
best
my
marketing
God.
strategy.
For sure. We call it, so my team, we call it the goal driven approach because we deal with so many unique businesses that are all different. I mean, I've had customers who were like super like against, showing up in person or social media, but then was able to create an email list of 5,000
Yeah.
people. There are multiple ways to do it, and you don't have to be all the things all the time. And it's all about figuring out what exactly you're trying to do, right? What's your method about doing it? Because I don't have to show up on IG every day if I don't want to. I don't have to create a masterclass every time if I don't want to. I
Yeah.
don't have to recreate the wheel with this PDF. Like there's just so many different things that you can do. It's just figuring out what that goal is and then figuring out your mechanism about doing it.
No.
But
No.
yeah,
Cool. Okay, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people make with email marketing?
jumping into it with no plan. I mean, I know. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong with that one, right?
Oh, no,
There's
yeah,
the you
this is the joy of this. You can take it in whatever direction you want.
you have the people that are like, I know I need email marketing, but I could do it by myself, and that flops, right? And then you have people that are, I know I need email marketing, but I only have like $10 budget. I don't care to, you know what I mean? You have the people that, oh, I don't need email marketing. Like I have like a Instagram, followers of like 10,000 plus. Great. Do they pay you? Do they, how are you in, like,
Yeah,
are you on social media all day? How does that work? If social media shut down, where's those 10K followers?
yeah,
You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's just so many things that people are like, the know-it-alls of everything, and some people just don't, people don't know what they don't know. And so I think a lot of my job, or just all of our
yeah,
jobs as experts, is the education piece behind email marketing,
yeah,
because it's such a big tool. I always say your email list is like your insurance plan, right? If all else fails, you always have that's something you own, that at the end of the day nobody can take away from you, right? So for me, it's really about the education between how email marketing can really grow your business, because that's a huge misconception as it is. And I think back to like 5 years ago, where email marketing for small businesses was like kind of foreign. Like only people that use email marketing were medium, enterprise, entertainment, news companies. Those were the only people that were really using newsletter style emails, right? And so then you have this surge of small businesses who are like, oh, I could do this, right? So I think it's always funny when, every couple of years there's a shift on like what can actually be done. But education is probably like the biggest thing, the misconceptions about email marketing across the board. And part of that is my job.
yeah.
When that person gets to me, my job is to better educate and then show you what exactly it can do for you.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. That's part of our job, is to take the blinkers off, as it were. And one of the things that you said there really resonated. It took me back to one of the things that I remember when I started out in business. Someone was talking to me about the list and having the list, and it all being about the list. And it's what they said was that if your business burnt down, if you had a problem, if something happened, if your house burnt down, if you lost everything, you would still be able to the next day send an email out and say, can you, do this, do that, as it were. So, social media, you're renting space, essentially. You're renting space on Facebook and Twitter and all the other platforms. It's their platform. You're just renting space. Whereas your email list is your opportunity to speak directly to someone's inbox and directly to them. And at times, it's like you say. But obviously the other side of that, and I still remember this as clear as anything, meeting someone at a networking meeting and saying, so do you do email? And they went, yes, I've got a list of 10,000. I was like, oh, that's really good. So what type of emails do you do? And he goes, I've got a list of 10,000. And it turns out he's got this list that he's built over time, but he's not using it. Email marketing only works if you actually send emails. Otherwise, it's just a list of names and email addresses, and that isn't going to actually do anything for you. So, always remember that. It's always made me laugh. So, okay. So, let's go down to the beginners. Let's go down to the people who come to you, obviously, kind of like your heartland, as it were. And obviously, this is a real kind of like core subject that you're going to be speaking at Symposium. So, to expand a little bit more from what you said previously, if I'm starting out, if I come to you and I go, right, I need a website, but I also need to do email marketing. Can you just kind of like give me a couple of the initial steps that I probably need to take that's going to move in the right direction? Obviously, without giving too much away. We've still got people to come and see you at the at Symposium, but to give everything away. But just start off.
Yeah, I would say like the first thing is one, goal setting, right? So what's our goal-driven approach? So when we talk about the growth circle method, the first step is connection, and it's building that spark. So for beginners, when we're talking about email marketing, we're really deciding what's our spark, what's our mechanism to create that spark to attract the audience that we're trying to get to, attract our target audience. So if you're starting out, your whole goal is figuring out how to create that spark and what that spark is. And so for many people, that spark might be, and these are just some examples, that spark might be social media, somebody who's very prone to like being on in person in front of the camera. That spark could be, I'm an avid blogger. I love commenting and reading blogs. That might be your spark. That might be the way you connect. The other spark could be, I'm somebody that frequently likes to do training classes or things like that. That could be your spark. So for anybody that is new, it's about defining what's that connection piece. How do you, as a creator, as a educator, as a business owner, create a spark with your target audience and find that connector piece? That's the first step of everything, right? In order to create any kind of audience, you really need to determine what is your unique spark, and then we can kind of go. And then at Symposium, we'll go over like how to really put that together with MailChimp and how to get those people in. But that spark is probably the first step. It's that connection piece.
That makes an awful lot of sense. If you haven't got that ability to connect with people to start off with, you're always going to be on the back foot, and it doesn't matter how much time and effort and energy you do. If you haven't got that initial first step clear of how you do it. I mean, one of the things I've come up with this analogy recently, which is the kind of like, it's like, I use the dating analogy quite a lot with email marketing. Don't ask me why. I was particularly awful and horrendous at it, but I've read in that, but it's the idea of, the first thing is you kind of like, so you go out. So first of all, you've got to know where your customers are. So you go to, in that instance, you go to a nightclub. And you speak, and then you see someone that you want to have a conversation with. And I always, the phrase I use is, first of all, why would they pay attention to you? So when you talk about a spark, is that, but then the next thing I immediately talk about is, right, well, once you've once you've established that you're worthwhile at least to kind of like say hello to, I use the phrase, when you, in that situation, you talk about buying someone a drink. And essentially, when you're buying someone a drink in a nightclub or a bar or whatever, you're saying, I've just bought you this drink. You now have to speak to me, or at least listen to me for the next couple of 2 minutes and decide whether it's worth continuing the conversation. But the drink is kind of like the way of basically buying their time, buying their attention. Yeah. And I say, from when you're looking at it from an email marketing point of view, You need to walk in, you need to have that spark, as you say, the thing that's going to start, and then you need to buy them a drink. And a lot of the time I'm saying to people is, so what's your equivalent of buying them a drink? What is the
Yeah.
thing that's going to get them to take action and give you the time of day? Because if you don't get the time of day, if you don't get that reaction, it's not going to work. So
And I think sometimes people don't really realize what their spark is. It's so
definitely.
funny. They don't know what their spark is. And I think sometimes too is they don't really know. They think they're giving away too much. And the funny thing is like, or they're not giving away enough. So
Yeah,
they're like, I need to do more. I need to do this. I need to, you know what I mean? And it's like, honestly, again, people don't know what they don't know. That's the whole point they're coming to you or even seeking out or even in your wheelhouse of audience
totally.
members, right? That's the whole
Totally.
point. And so literally what you as a creator, as a business owner, as an expert, what you think might be the tip of the iceberg, I mean, what you think might be so much is literally somebody else's breakthrough. So what you think might be too small or too little information to give is literally helping somebody get through this big blocker in their lives because they don't know what it is,
Yeah.
right? If I am we've had the luxury of working with a really cool chef up in Boston, who at the turn of pandemic was completely shut down. And so she was trying to convert from being in a school teaching students all the time to now going to a digital space.
Yep.
And she always felt like she wasn't giving enough information. And I said, just for kicks and giggles, let's just ask the audience
Yep.
what their thoughts are, right? And you had people that were like, oh my God, I didn't even know that you could hold a knife this way and create this like beautiful piece. And and I kid you not, I was doing it with her and I was like mind blown by the way she cut this green onion. And I was like, my whole plate just went from like
Yep.
$10 to like $98 by the way she cut it. And that piece, and to her, it was so small, but to us, it was like, that was game changer. I now cut my green onions at a slant. Okay, officially now for now on, because it just makes me look like I really put some effort into my meal. But it's things like that. So again, like what do you think is the tip of the iceberg is literally like that breakthrough moment for people. So I think sometimes it's just defining what that spark is.
Oh, definitely. That phrase that you mentioned previously, people don't know what they don't know. And you and I are experts in email and MailChimp and small business marketing, whatever. And a lot of the times we can come out with a couple of things that we just take for granted. And yet the
Mm-hmm.
person at the end go, I've never thought of that. That's brilliant. Kind of like justified the whole conversation.
Yep.
And at times I think, a lot of businesses out there are very good assuming that because they know it, everyone else knows it. And that it couldn't be farther
Yep.
from the truth. No, couldn't agree more.
Oh,
Right, okay. Last question on email marketing. You, like myself, have spoken to a lot of businesses and a lot of people who are
hmm
at various kind of like points on the scale of being good or bad at email marketing. What in your mind is the one thing? I mean, there's lots it could be, but one thing that you think is separates those people who are really good at email marketing from those who are mediocre, who just average, who just go through the motions. What's that one thing?
oh my God, that's such a hard question. Um, that's not fair. There's so many. It's not.
I
There's
know, but
so many.
you gotta pick one. There's so many you could. This
If
is
I
great.
had to,
This is lovely because whenever I ask this question to the other guys, everyone comes up with a different answer, and that's the idea. Is the fact
yeah,
that so you got to pick one thing.
I would say it's the messaging. So, so just for an example, like, sometimes I will go through my inbox as a customer and I'll see certain emails and I'm like immediately go, oh, this is really cool. Like I saw this one from a client, not even a client of mine, this brand called Tonic, and their emails were like, oh, by the way, we're no longer sending emails, we're closing, but they weren't. They were like, oh, we just grabbed your attention. So I think sometimes it's things. It was so brilliantly crafted, and it was nothing fancy design wise. It was nothing fancy. There was like a bunch of gifts and stuff in there,
Yeah,
but the messaging was what grabbed me. So I think if everything, it's the messaging.
cool. Great. Okay, so that's email marketing almost done. We do give you a chance to have a rant in a little bit. But I always like to just kind of like chuck a load of random questions at people just to get to know a little bit about them. All right, so this is the lightning round. Favorite food?
Macaroni and cheese.
Interesting. Yeah, we did start off, quite a few partners went down the pizza route, but we've been moved. There's definitely an Italian theme. Whatever it is, kind of like everyone seems to like Italian food, as it were.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah. All right. What do you do to relax?
Read.
Any particular genre?
So you're putting me on the spotlight. I really am a nerd for romance novels. Like contemporary romance is where I live on vacation.
No, that's no. If you see some of the things I read, I've got no reason to judge anyone else from that point of view. Okay, Mac or PC?
Ooh, neither.
You're the
I
first
don't really
person who's not said Mac straight away.
Really?
Everyone else seems to be Mac world, so
I do love Mac, but there's certain appreciations from a PC that you do get. So yeah.
There you go. Favorite TV comedy program?
None. I'm not really a comedy fan.
Okay, all right. Well, favorite TV program then?
Law and Order, SVU.
Yeah, my wife.
I'm a crime buff.
Yeah, my wife just sits and watches. She watches NCIS on repeat and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, any crime like thriller is definitely my jam.
Cool. Favorite music to pick you up?
Ooh, Whitney Houston or
And
Beyonce.
Favorite music to calm you down?
Beyonce.
Favorite film?
Ooh, The Unusual Suspects.
Best tool for embedding a form in a website? Come on, this is the one that the geeks out there really want to know. They want to know what we use to get forms onto websites.
I would probably use something that's already within it versus embedding it just to be super simple. It's harder to train somebody to embed than it is to just use it.
I agree, and it depends. Obviously, with Squarespace, there's certain tools within Squarespace. So, what's your favourite Squarespace? If you want to capture details and shove them through to MailChimp in Squarespace, what do you use?
So I use forms, and there's forms that's embedded, and I use hidden tags. So if you use hidden, you can do your own merge tags, which is like my favorite tool.
Yeah, that's what I say to people. If you can have a form tool, whether it's a WordPress website, wherever it is, the one thing I use a phrase: you need to track provenance. You need to know where they've come from. So every form, you need to know they're filled in that form. So always reassuring to hear that. That's kind of that's part of me. I'm not checking up on you to see, but couldn't agree more. Okay, right. Okay, so got a little bit of. I was one last question. Favorite sport?
Oh, football, like American football. Sorry.
Let me say, I have been a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals for 35 years.
What?
Yep, Robin, I started following them in 1986. Every Sunday, I am glued to my streaming device from 6 p.m. UK time until basically 1 o'clock in the morning. And
that is so funny.
I am a huge football fan.
I am a born and raised Giants fan. So
you have my sympathy.
The funny thing is my his favorite team is Redskins.
Yep.
So us in the house it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We agreed to disagree. But no, when I was a kid, my dad, he was a Giants fan, always has been to this day. And every Sunday we would go to my uncle's house and his wife would cook and we would just sit around and watch the game. And it was just our thing to do. And I mean, even when I went to college and even in my own house, he would buy me all the Giants gear because he was like, you have to at least have one thing in your house.
Oh yeah.
that is giant. Like, yeah.
Yeah. You
So
can't
born
see
and
me
raised. I
behind
really
this.
have a choice in the matter.
Yeah. Behind the screen, I've got a load of Cincinnati stuff as well. But there we go. But yeah, like I say, you have my commiserations being a Giants fan. Let's just not talk about the Bengals at the moment. That's we'll do another podcast which will be depressed football fans, and we'll just kind of like
You
share
know,
stories.
oh God.
Brilliant.
Oh,
Right. Okay. Before wrap up, I want to give everyone the opportunity to get something off their chest, something that really gets their goat. That whenever a client or someone who could be anything says something to you, and you're like going, "Can't believe they've said this again," right? And you're going to set them right. So it could be anything email or MailChimp related. What's that? I'm giving you a platform now. What's that one thing
yep.
that you just want to get off your chest?
So I think for me, it's the idea that a lot, well, my customers, they want to stay small, and not small in the sense of I want to just be one person doing X, Y, doing all the things. It's like they're not willing to do the emails that we say like are needed to do. They're afraid of going big. And for some reason, like I can go on this for days. I'm like, being a one person show should never be the end game, right? The whole idea of using email marketing, using MailChimp, using all these tools so that you can scale, that you could duplicate yourself, that your business can kind of run on its own. And so when we go into conversations and customers, like, oh, I don't know if we should do that. Like, I don't have enough, people on my email list to do that, or I'm not ready to do. It's like, what are you playing small for? Because if you want to be a one person show all your life, kudos to you. You may not, it may not last long. I'll just say that, but that should never be the end game. At some point, you want to get to a point where your business can do what it can for you, that you can have the time freedom, that you can have the location freedom, that you can go and take a vacation if you want to. A lot of the customers that we work with, again, are doing these things with sweat equity. At some point, you're going to get exhausted, right? So what is that point? And when you're playing small, oh my God, it just drives my gears. Like, you could be doing so many things. And it's like this one email is taking you out. I'm like, and then when they try, they're like, oh, look at that. If I should have recorded you before we sent it, and that, right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it's that piece of just playing small that just drives me bonkers, because again, we're experts. So we've seen what it's like on the other end of a lot of this marketing tools, a lot of email campaigns, especially for e-commerce. And when we see people who are like, could get to this point, sometimes it's your own self blocking you from getting there. And it's just that idea of playing small, it just drives me bonkers.
I've seen it, and I see it in myself. It's one of the things, the biggest thing that I've gone through over the last couple of years is that, taking away that self-imposed ceiling of what I can actually do, and start to realise that it isn't, like you say, just me. For me to grow, for the business to grow, it needs to be bigger than that. It needs to be bigger, and better plans in there. Because if I just said this is just going to be me doing it, there is no opportunity for to build on top of that at all. So no, very, very wise words, and a message that a lot of people need to take into account. So that's brilliant. Great. Well, really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Sequoia. This is really the first time we've had a chance to even chat. So
I know.
I love it. And the fact that I know that you're now a football fan, it's great. There'll be lots of, Monday morning, there'll be something in the Slack channel to...
I'll have to send you a picture of us on Sundays, like sitting 6 feet apart, like I can't stand you right now.
No, me as well. So, but really appreciate you taking the time today. If people want to get hold of you, obviously I know you're speaking at Symposium, but what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So where you can find me in DailyMode Studio, you can head over to our website, dailymodestudio.com. Even better, at the top right corner, there's a free tools. It's a free resource library that you have complete access to our entire library of resources, checklists, trainings, videos, you name it, it's all there for you. If you have specific questions you want to reach out to me, I am on Instagram pretty frequently at Sequoia Mulgrave. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, really appreciate you taking time. Really enjoyed this. So
Thanks,
I'll
Ryan.
be honest.
I
I
loved
kind of like,
it.
I started doing these interviews as something I thought, oh, this is going to be good. I'll get something. I'm now actually thinking that all I'm going to do is, even once Symposium's finished, I'm going to just continue to have, right, we're going to do this
I
topic,
love it.
do it. So, yeah, so we'll definitely get something in the diary for later on this year. But for now, really appreciate you taking the time. And for those of you who are listening, you can check Sequoia and myself and lots of other of the MailChimp masters that are out there. We're all going to be speaking at Symposium on the 7th and 8th of October. And basically, if you're interested, we'll go get tickets at symposium.com. But for now, thanks for listening. Thank you again, Sequoia. And we'll catch up with you very soon indeed.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast really helpful, then here's what you can do next to broaden your understanding of MailChimp. You can join our free Facebook group. It's the biggest MailChimp support group in the world. Just search MailChimp Answers on Facebook. You can take our free MailChimp Medical to find out the health of your MailChimp account and what you can do to improve it. Just visit chimpanswers.com and follow the prompts. And of course, you can get in touch with us if you like one-to-one support, advice, tips, or whatever. Just visit chimpanswers.com, which also has got one of the largest resources of MailChimp blogs and advice available out there to get the information that you need. Thanks again, and we'll see you very soon.